and welcome. Nice to have you with us on a huge Tuesday here on Mad Dog Unleashed on this 13th day of February, the year 2018. Welcome, folks, and welcome to the busy program here today. We're over in Secaucus at the MLB Network as we chat to you about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. At 888 Mad Dog 6 and a great SiriusXM 82. Eddie Erickson in today, and of course, all the fellas back in the shop. I'm not sure who is Ray out? No, Ray's Colin Smelling's not feeling well, so Ray's out. I'm not sure who Eddie has put together here. Mike Fitzgerald's in the house here today. Okay, so in good shape with Mike as we talk to you about what's going on as far as the world of competition is concerned on this busy afternoon. I've been sort of out of the loop for most of the day. I'm not sure what Eddie has put together. I'm expecting lots of good spots. Steve Kerr today, I'm expecting. Not Eddie Johnson. No. Steve Kerr, I expect today. I expect Aaron Boone today. We'll leave with the Yanks in a minute. I expect good things put together by Erickson. Now that he's lost his weeklies, he's a lost soul. No Ira, no Peter King, no Gary Danielson, no Phil Simms, no Brent Musburger. Eddie's got to do a little work. And we'll see if Eddie can put together a couple of spots on this busy afternoon as we chat to you about what's cooking here on this 3-hour program here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Okay, let's start. And since, I'm sort of in a baseball mood right now and I'm thinking about the sport, let's start with opening spring training press conference day for the Yankees, who obviously with Yes Network broadcasting live, for the first time out of about 9 million, you're going to hear him. Aaron Boone today had his introductory spring training press conference down there in Tampa, St. Pete, as the Yankees get ready for spring training. And Boone, did a very good job. He handled himself well. He's going to be able to handle the media very, very well here in his long run with the Yankees. He knows his way around Atlanta. He knows his way around a microphone. He comes from ESPN. He knows how to talk. He knows how to give you an answer. He knows how to say something in a 25-second soundbite without saying anything. And that's the key. I mean, he knows how to answer a question relatively politely and not exactly answer the question, but give you a soundbite. And that's what the real good ones know how to do who are in sports when they are, besieged by media folks. That's what Belichick sometimes hasn't learned how to do. Learn how to give the questionnaire a good answer without answering the question. And Boone today did that on numerous occasions. I saw most of the whole thing regarding his Yankees and, is it World Series or bust? Or, what are you going to do with Ellsbury? And how are you going to break down Stanton and Judge? And, is the pressure on you with your first go-around after Girardi? I mean, he did everything that you'd expect him to do as far as answering is concerned with, sort of beating around the bush without, but doing it in a nice way and giving folks who were interested, a sense that what they were listening to was something that sounded good if it didn't mean much. And that's what Boone did here today. And the Yankees, as they begin the year, in all truth, have a lot of pressure on them. Maybe it's more Brian Cashman and ownership than it is Aaron Boone because they are the ones who fired Joe Girardi. But for a variety of reasons, really 3 of them, that I see, the Yankees entered the 2018 baseball season, and we're a month away from, really more than that, 6 weeks away from really any official games. March 29th, the season will open this year. It's, I think it's 6 weeks from Thursday, to be exact, the date. But the Yankees, out of everybody in the sport this year, have more pressure on them than any team. More than the Dodgers do, more than the Nationals do, more than the Red Sox do. The Nationals have to win a playoff series. I think that would be step 1. The Dodgers did play in a Game 7 last year. What, are you going to kill them if they lose prior to a World Series this year or lose another World Series? That's tricky to do. When you lose a 7th game of the World Series, it's difficult to say that the following year you come back with enormous pressure, even for that franchise who hasn't won since '88. The Red Sox obviously haven't won a playoff series in a while. They would be probably number 2 as far as pressure is concerned. A lot of people think the Indians, with the window maybe closing for that franchise, with Andrew Minner and Corey Allen being free agents after 2018, that maybe that team has got some pressure on them and need to finish the job and win a championship. It has been 70 years, it's 1948, before the window entirely closes. There are other teams that could say that, and I know a lot of people would think that the Yankees are going to have a long stretch of opportunities to win a championship, that the Yankees will have a period here maybe of better part of a decade with lots of young players, great resources, an opportunity after this year with the the rechecking of their luxury tax number. Remember, if you don't go over the luxury tax after a years of doing so, if you break that going over the tax streak, it resets, and then as a result, the fine that you pay for going over the cap the next time isn't nearly as great, which gives the Yankees some flexibility with Harper, Machado, what have you coming out, Donaldson in 2018. Although they don't need Harper, they got plenty of outfielders, but you get the idea. And a lot of people think because of the fact that the Yankees have a bunch of young players that the window there is not as strong, or the pressure is not as great this year for them that it would be under, say, a team like Cleveland that is in a situation where they need to go out there and try to win a championship before it's too late. Now, again, I don't look at it quite the same or quite that way. I can't put Cleveland in a vice because they haven't won since '48. Not in this nowadays baseball. I mean, the Indians are working with a payroll that is not nearly as big as the Red Sox, as the Yankees, as the Dodgers, as the Giants. I mean, I can't kill the Indians. What, am I going to kill the Indians if they win 98 games and lose a 5-game series to Boston, the ALDS? I'm going to kill Cleveland that's sitting there, trying to beat the Red Sox $70 million shy of what they spend on players. I'm not killing the Indians for that. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Houston has no pressure. Cubs have no pressure. Cubs won a championship 2 years ago. Houston's playing with house money in 2018. They got off the snide last year. Again, the Dodgers, to a certain degree, I don't look at them this year as much as I looked at the other teams. Remember, they hadn't been in a World Series in 30 years before what happened, of course, this past year. So, I mean, I know you like to see them finally win a title, and 30 years for them is a long time, but they did get to a World Series this year and played on November. So, I don't know if I look at quite them the same. And I know the Yankees, have some leeway, but when you bring Stanton in, that's reason number one. When you fire a successful manager, partly because of money, remember Boone's only making $4 million for 3 years, while Girardi was going to make $5 million a year, or ask for that. When you bring a manager in, don't pay him a ton, pay him $4 million for 3 years, and and fire a guy who had been very successful for 9 years and fired is what he was. I know his contract was up, but he was fired. When you fire a manager with that kind of success, losing a Game 7 in Houston on a ball that almost left the park in Game 6 with Todd Frazier against Justin Verlander, and if it did leave the park, you couldn't have fired him. It would have been in a World Series team. But when you fire a guy, you bring Stanton in, and obviously you're going all gusto to win a title. I cannot sit there and give you a pass if this year you win a wild card and then lose in a championship series again. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Yankees, maybe more so on Cashman and Boone, but I think with Stanton in the outfield, with Judge and Wright, with all the money that they have to work with, I know they got a long window here. This is not going to be a one and done thing as it could be, say, for Cleveland. They got a long window here to have a chance to win some championships with young players, but I think the Yankees right now have a big bullseye on their back. They're going to be I don't know if I quite call them the evil empire like in the old days, but the Yankees are going to have a bullseye on their back. Stanton's going to, he's making $300 million. He's the quiet, he's the guy he's the black cloud in the room. Everybody knows who he is. And he's going to have to deal with New York and, maybe dealing with a new position in left field and all those kinds of things and all the pressure that goes along with that. And he can be streaky. And the Yankee fan is not going to have the same patience with him as they would with, say, Judge if he cools off in 18. So you bring him in. You obviously bring Boone in. You last year played a Game 7 against Houston. The stadium rocked in October against the Astros and the Twins when you won 5 straight playoff games. I think the Yankees have a lot of pressure on them here in 2018. Now, I know the Yankee fan will say, geez, we're going to be good for a long period of time. Why this year, say more than 2 years down the road? I don't know. To me, I think the Yankees with Boone there and Girardi, they're going to hear a lot of grief. If Boone has a bad year, and the Yankees struggle, they're going to hear a lot of grief. Why'd they get rid of Girardi? They're going to hear a lot of that. Especially Cashman. And if Stan goes out there and hits 25 home runs and 90 RBIs and hits 260, and don't tell me that's not possible. He gets hurt and all those things. He is going to hear a lot of grief too. And Judge won't be as good either because he's very streaky. I mean, last year Judge basically had 185 at bats where he, struck out 60 consecutive times. He struck out a time in 60 consecutive games. So I think the Yankees. I know you could say the Red Sox and they have the Patriots up there too, but they haven't really made a big move in the offseason outside of getting rid of Farrell. Again, the Dodgers. We know about the Indians, but I think the Yankees begin the year with the biggest bullseye on their back. It might be more general manager and owner bullseye than it, say, be Boone or the players themselves because the players are young. But I do think the Yankees here, this will be an interesting scenario here. Bird there for the full year. They have to figure out what they're going to do in the middle of the infield. They don't have a third and a second baseman right now because they got a lot of young players. Castro, they were traded. They don't have a third baseman. Frazier left. They could play, they got a couple of guys in the minor leagues who they love, including the kid they got from the Cubs in the Chapman trade, and Torres. He's coming off Tommy John, so he may not be necessarily ready to go. Remember about him, if the Yankees don't bring him up in spring training and wait a couple of weeks, they save a year with the service time, like Bryant a few years ago at the Cubs, and the Yankees will probably do that. But with Hicks and with Judge and with Gardner out there and with Stanton out there and DeGregorius at shortstop and Sanchez behind the plate and a bunch of good pitchers, not great starters, but good starters with an awesome bullpen. I mean, the Yankees are going to be predicted in a lot of publications in the next 6 weeks to be the team to win the whole thing. A lot of it. And that brings some pressure, too. Bullseye on the Yanks in 2018. Busy start, MLB Network. Calls, too. Lots of other things to get to today. We'll do a little Steve Kerr later in the program. We'll get into that. We'll do a little Winter Olympics a little bit later in the program, and we'll do that. And your calls at 888 Mad Dog 6.